Yo, what's going on everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys another Boruto 2 Blue Vortex discussion. And today I want to talk to you guys about why all this chaos is going on right now in the Sand Village. Even though for as cool as it is, we really need to take a moment to pause and not think about the showdown that's going to be coming when Konohamaru is able to dig deep down inside of himself and shove a giant Rasengan ball down Matsuri's throat, or Ryu learns that the way that he was trusting Konoha isn't necessarily the best thing to do, despite Jura's orders to not harm them unless it is in self-defense. Despite all of this that has rightfully grabbed our attention, we must first take a moment to realize that there is a wild card out there that has been quickly forgotten and quietly forgotten by most of the fandom who deserves our attention, because he might very well be positioned as a potential catalyst to be a subversion of our expectations as readers. And that character is none other than Code, the Otsutsuki worshipping nutjob turned Naruto incel, who despite being weaker than the current threat levels is every bit the problem that we have to keep our eyes on moving forward, because he has the potential to be a bigger problem than we might have ever given credit for. In this video, we are going to explore not only why Code is a threat, a legitimate threat, but we are also going to look at why the story is giving him a new purpose via Jura. It has more implications than you might realize, particularly when you take a look at the deeper meaning behind Code's name and the symbolism behind it, as well as the Asian cultural link for Code as well. So Code's current arc in Boruto, it presents a compelling scenario for both narrative tension as well as character development. Let's break down the dynamics of his potential threat, the stakes, and the thematic resonance of his actions, and relevant parallels to Shinto and Buddhist stories, because it's all connected. So why Code is a threat is being used to subvert expectations has to go first. So Jura's overconfidence and misplaced focus on the Shinju is part of that. So Matsuri and Ryu, they are the more immediate threats due to their raw power and proximity to Sarada and Mitsuki, as well as Boruto's fear for their safety, because obviously Boruto's worried they might get killed. This focus, it diverts attention away from Code, who appears to be irrelevant at this moment. By the time he reappears, his actions, they could blindside everyone, because nobody expects him to be serious and nobody expects him to be successful in his attempt to kill Boruto. Jura is basically sparing Code. It is a narrative seed that might imply that Code has a specific vital role to play. It's important to remember Kishimoto wanted Code to be killed. Ikimoto fought to have him kept in the story. The expectation is that the Shinju, Matsuri, and Ryu, they will steal the spotlight here and grab all of our attention. But Code's presence, it disrupts the natural flow, catching everyone unprepared. The disrupting of Kashin Koji's calculations is next. So Kashin Koji's reliance on Ada's Senrigan and the deterministic value that he has on the whole concept of singularity of fate, it introduces the rigid nature of his strategy. Code, who operates outside these calculations, it becomes a wild card. The pun on Code's name is what you have to look at, okay? So Ada being a pun on Ada Lovelace, the first computer programmer. Ada is also a form of Code itself. The pun on Code's name is a reference to computer coding. It reinforces this theme, like a piece of rogue code disrupting an otherwise stable system. Code's actions undermine and they go against the deterministic logic that Kashin Koji relies on. At the end of the day, 10 directions, when you really sit down and think about it, it in of itself is basically math, numbers, and probabilities. Code is also something that operates very logic based. So you can see where these two, being some of the last car members surviving, makes a lot of sense. Now, when you get into the narrative stakes and Boruto's struggle, it really ticks up. So if Code appears when Sarada and Mitsuki are already battling Matsuri and Ryu, it creates a multi-front crisis. Boruto, conflicted between Kashin Koji's orders and his own protective instincts, he might rush to aid his friends, fracturing Koji's timeline calculations, because as Koji said, if Boruto goes out there, hey fam, Jura's gonna kill you. The outcome, it forces Boruto to grapple with his own limitations and the strength of his friends, particularly if Sarada and Mitsuki are able to survive without him. This also brings us into Code's underdog appeal. Well, yes, Code is an underdog, and the thematic strength that comes with it. So the underdog villain dynamic, you don't see it often, but when it's done right, it works very well. So Code is often portrayed, especially after getting his limiters removed, as being a weaker antagonist compared to characters like Jura and the Shinju. In part 1, he was weaker than Damon. This makes his victories more surprising and rewarding from a narrative perspective. His growth into a true threat, it underscores that determination and the cunning and the opportunity it can rival raw power. His desperation for recognition and power, it mirrors Boruto's struggle for purpose, creating a dark parallel that adds depth to their eventual confrontation. The chakra fruit in Code's evolution is also next. So should Code find Boruto first and disrupt this timeline, he positions himself as being a genuine contender for harvesting a chakra fruit. This not only elevates his power level, but also forces the protagonist to reassess their strategies moving forward, assuming of course they're all not swept up into cocoons used as nourishment. Code's potential evolution into a stronger villain after being underestimated for so long, it emphasizes the danger of overlooking irrelevant factors. It's something that you and I are very much guilty of in our own personal lives, if we're being honest. Now, this also leads us into how Code can be used for the character development of Boruto and his friends. Boruto, by extension, would learn to value his friends more. Not to say that he doesn't, but Boruto often feels compelled to bear responsibilities for everyone. It's something that Sumire has really talked about. If Sarada and Mitsuki, they do triumph over Matsuri and Ryu without Boruto's help, he's going to learn to trust in their strength, relieving him of some of his own self-imposed burdens, something that Sarada was trying to tell Sumire, hey, we need to help Boruto. Both things are true in that aspect. This shifts Boruto's perspective, and it allows for a deep appreciation of the team that he is trying to reunite with and seeing them as equals, and it reinforces their bonds and it pays off their goal at the end of part 1. They wanted to be strong enough to fight alongside Boruto, not necessarily equal to Boruto, but be strong enough where they couldn't be left behind. This also comes with development for Kashin Koji because it is a cost to Kashin Koji's calculations. So Koji's rigid adherence to the singularity of fate concept, it clashes with Boruto's instinct to protect his loved ones. If Code's arrival disrupts Koji's plan, it highlights the limitations of predetermination and it emphasizes human agency in shaping the future itself. Next, we have to go into the symbolism of Code's role, in particular when it comes to looking at it from the lens of Shinto and Buddhism connections, and good God, there are some. So first we go with Shinto and disruption. So in Shinto, kamis, they often, in a lot of stories, they act as disruptors to teach lessons or balance for nature. Code embodies this role, creating chaos to challenge Boruto and Kashin Koji's over-reliance on fate and structure. The story of Susanoo, someone that Uchiha clan fans are definitely familiar with, the storm god being exiled and then later redeeming himself by defeating Yamada no Orochi, it parallels Code's journey. Like Susanoo, Code is dismissed as unworthy in the eyes of fans. Only in this case, he could return as someone in an unexpected and very impactful way. You then get into Buddhism and how that's used with the underdog feature of his villain's journey. So Code's perseverance, it aligns with the Buddhist principle of upaya, which is basically skillful means, where even the seemingly insignificant can find a way to achieve great things. His rise, it represents the potential for growth and transformation, albeit in a darker sense. Again, this is not a hero's journey, this is a villain's journey. The narrative echoes the struggle of Mara, which is the tempter in Buddhist tradition, who disrupts the Buddha's meditation. Code's role as a disruptor, it reflects Mara's ability to create chaos, forcing protagonists to grow through adversity. Sticking to this, there's an even deeper message here for Code's character that deserves a whole lot more focus. This is going to be the Code Defense Force video, basically. So this is where we start bringing in the Japanese folklore tales and the Shinto tales and the Buddhism tales to start putting a bow on this whole conversation. So Code's arc in Boruto, it serves as an allegory for what happens when small threats, they are ignored, only to grow into more significant dangers. Even down to the creation of Jura and etc. It's all because Code was taken seriously, but at the same time he kind of wasn't taken seriously. This theme, deeply resonates with the Buddhist teachings, Shinto mythology, and Japanese folklore, all of which they emphasize vigilance, balance, and the consequences of neglecting seemingly minor issues. Code is a threat being ignored. That's where we start. So Jura overlooked Code as a person, and he basically bargained with him. Jura sparing Code's life, it creates an illusion that Code is no longer a significant threat, regulating him to just being in the background. This decision, it parallels the idea of ignoring small weeds in a garden, which later overrun if not attended to. Code's seemingly minor presence allows him the freedom to operate in the shadows, planning and growing stronger, while the focus remains on more immediate threats like Matsuri and Ryu. The danger then comes with his hubris. So both Jura and Kashin Koji, they strongly underestimate Code, viewing him as being a less than capable threat or less than capable asset than the Shinju or Boruto. This hubris, it is reflected in the mindfulness, which is a key aspect of the Buddhist principle, and it sets the stage for Code's eventual rise as a larger, unforeseen threat. Buddhism, when you start getting into some of the stories, you have the parable of the poisoned arrow. So in Buddhist teachings, you'll often hear a lot of people make reference to the parable of the poisoned arrow. It illustrates the danger of distraction and inaction. You have a man who is shot with a poisoned arrow, but he refuses treatment until he knows every single detail about the arrow and his shooter. He dies because he ignored the immediate threat in favor of less urgent matters. This is a parallel to Code. The focus on Matsuri and Ryu, the immediate threat, it distracts the characters from addressing the growing danger posed by Code. Like the poisoned arrow, Code operates in the background, biding his time until the threat becomes fatal. The allegory serves as a cautionary tale about mindfulness and addressing all potential dangers, no matter how insignificant they seem. When you get into Shinto mythology, this is where you get into the tale of Yatagarasu. Yatagarasu is the three-legged crow. So if you're familiar with Inuyasha, you've seen this crow. It is a symbol of guidance and foresight in Shinto. However, there are myths of birds who are messengers whose warnings are ignored, leading to disaster. This is a parallel to Code. Code can be seen as a shadowy figure akin to a messenger whose presence in the story signals danger. The failure to recognize his potential threat is akin to ignoring a divine warning, leading to chaos and imbalance in the natural order. And ironically, Code was on the opposite end of this because Boruto served the role as the crow, which is part of why Boruto having the black clothing is so fitting here. Boruto said, "Destroy the Ten Tails while you still can." Code didn't, and now we are where we are. Now, when you get into Japanese folklore, this is where it gets even more interesting. So this will be about the tale of the straw millionaire. So in the story of the straw millionaire, something that I guarantee you've never heard anybody say on Naruto YouTube. Yes, I'm tooting my own horn because damn it, somebody's got to do it. A man starts with a single piece of straw and through small, clever trades becomes immensely wealthy. The tale, it illustrates how seemingly insignificant things can grow into something far greater through persistence and opportunity. This is a parallel to Code. So Code begins as a dismissed, underestimated threat, much like the straw. Through determination and strategic choices, he leverages his position into one of significant power. That is something that Code potentially could do. His growth, it mirrors the story's moral. What is ignored or undervalued has potential to be great, whether for good or for ill. That's where Code is right now, for good or for ill. I know some of you guys in the comment section have all said, hey, the three people at Karma will work together. That goes back to for whether for good or for ill. Now, from a thematic analysis perspective, the consequences of neglect are the next thing we have to look at. So this also obviously brings up the whole butterfly effect. So Code's rise, it reflects the ideas that small overlooked actions, they can ripple into major consequences. His ignored presence allows him to disrupt Kashin Koji's carefully calculated plans, demonstrating the fragile nature of order when vigilance lapses, which is why Kashin Koji is telling Boruto, hey fam, we got to be careful what we tell people. Hey fam, we need X, Y, and Z to happen. You want to make God laugh, you start making plans and God says, fuck that shit, you're getting out of here. So this is the next part. So Look at the warning about hubris that you see here. So Jura's decision to spare Code is an act of mercy, but also, most importantly, is an act of arrogance. It's great development for Jura's character. As we look at it, he's assuming that Code's going to remain insignificant. He's like, hey, if he kills Boruto, great. And if Boruto kills him, great. Boruto then be too weak to fight back, and then we just kill Boruto. This mirrors the Buddhist warning against pride and ignorance, which is something that leads to suffering and imbalance. Suffering is a part of that samsaric cycle. Boruto characters try to escape from that samsaric cycle. This also reinforces the vigilance in Boruto's character. So Code's arc and just his presence in the story, he's here because he serves as a lesson for Boruto and the others about the importance of addressing all threats, no matter how minor they seem. This aligns with the Buddhist teachings of mindfulness and the Shinto principle of maintaining harmony by acknowledging all elements in a system. Code, he has ignored all of the seeds of chaos in terms of everyone is ignoring Code's role in that. So Code's story, it is a powerful allegory for all the dangers of neglecting the small threats, his transformation from an underestimated figure to a potential significant disruptor. It embodies lessons for Buddhist parables, Shinto mythology, and Japanese folklore. These stories, they all warn against ignoring minor dangers, as they can grow into catastrophic forces if left unchecked. By allowing Code to rise in the way that he is currently doing, the narrative not only heightens the stakes, but also delivers a profound lesson on vigilance, humility, and the interconnectedness of actions and consequences, and most importantly, chakra. In conclusion, I'll just say this. This is why Code works as a villain. For as much crap as I give him, this is why he works as a villain. Code's resurgence, it is a process being set up to make him a credible threat. It works because it is both a subversion of expectations as well as a natural progression of his arc. His underdog status and narrative diversion toward the Shinju, it amplifies the surprise when he takes the center stage at some point. His potential to disrupt Kashin Koji's deterministic strategies, it also introduces tension, while his eventual rise underscores the dangers of having underestimated him. By forcing Boruto to rely and trust on his friends, Code inadvertently is contributing to Boruto's growth as a leader and showing Kashin Koji that all these plans and calculations and equations that you're doing, they can only get you so far. There are some times where you have to take a leap of faith, and for Boruto, that leap of faith has to deal with his friends. These elements, they all make him into an integral piece of the story's larger themes of fate, agency, and the power of perseverance, which to go deeper into why Kashin Koji's belief in the singularity of fate is as big as it is, you really need to check out the video I have on what is the singularity of fate, because there's a lot more to Koji's statement than you might believe. And if you want to hear more takes like this on other anime series without the theory aspect, you should really check out this Anime Explained video over here on the right to check out videos from my other channel.